Okay, it looks like I'm live streaming. I know that there's delay, but I want to come back to that didn't work. Okay. Hopefully it's streaming. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is hang on, I'm gonna record this. Okay, we're going to talk about setting intentions, and we're going to talk about willpower. So in yoga, since I can remember, so at least 30 years since the first time I took a yoga class and was teaching yoga class, the first thing my instructor would say, or our yoga teacher would say, was to set an intention. How do you want your practice to go? And it was a very big piece to your practice, is to set an intention. What that does is it gets you focused on what it is you're going to be putting your attention on in the first place. And one of the things that I learned in this practice is that intention is what is the cause of life. And when you don't have intention, or you're not focused with intention, it's really hard to achieve anything because you're distracted and you're all over the place. And I wonder if that's something that is put out there by marketing machines, by media, to help us stay distracted and not be able to focus on what we intend. Now, we can break this down into relationships, we can break it down into weight loss, we can break it down into fitness goals, we can break it down into success, pretty much anything, right? The bottom line is setting an intention, ideally, when you do it, and let's just say correctly, because there is a wrong way to do it, but if you set your intention from a place that's aligned with your goals, your purpose, your mission, that intention, and focusing on that intention, like it's creating a laser beam of your attention, right? Intention versus attention. So we need both of them. But the intention is putting forth a point at some point in the future that you are stringing your attention along to focus on. And what I've heard, and I'll just give you an example of a recent client who is a physician, and he came to me because he had chronic back pain and was overweight. And one of the things that I noticed right off was that his intentions were counter to what his goals were, or what he wanted, right? So his intention, and when you have an intention, so you're going to move forward towards something, and you have that point, some point in the future connected, so you can string this line smoothly towards that, your actions will naturally move towards that. But if you're missing an intention, or that intention is actually in the opposite direction of what you want to achieve, there's going to be there's a conflict for sure, and there's going to be a lot more challenges. And then that's when we've got willpower that I'm going to talk about now. So there's willpower, and then there's free will. And I've had a recent debate on this topic, that there is no such thing as free will, right? This is the opposing view, is that there is no such thing as free will, and willpower you can't create willpower, and it's not true. Nobody has willpower. Nobody has free will and the ability to, it's so interesting. So anyway, there's that debate. And then I like to take on a debate of the opposite view, whether, I'm looking at, let's debate this so that we can find out and practice it. It's a skill. And so I want to bring this up because we need to stop being afraid of looking at opposite views, because when you are able to actually shift views, it doesn't make you wrong or make you not right, or it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's just like, how can we be more effective with more knowledge and more understanding? And I'm going to get to the point why this relates to health and fitness, because I'm an energy expert and I work with high-powered executives and high-performing individuals that are in very high leadership roles, and they have a lot counting on them. And when their health and their energy is depleted, it's really hard to make good decisions. It's really hard to function at your peak. And so I help clients like that and executives that are working towards, they know they want something better, but there's been like this momentum going that's gotten them to the point where, you know, whether they're 40 or 100 pounds overweight or whatever that number is, or they're in chronic pain and they can't function fully and they're kind of subsisting on stimulants and downers to get through life. And that is not optimal in any way. So I love working and helping create radical positive transformation for powerhouse leaders that are really focused on making a positive difference, but somewhere along the line, they've lost their own sense of self and their own magic, right? So when I talk about this idea of willpower, and then I'm going to put free will in there as well, because a lot of times this gets misconstrued, and then intention, let's just take a simple example of, I want to think broccoli. Let's think of broccoli versus Oreo cookies. And we can bring it down to the simplicity of Oreo cookies and how many Oreo cookies, like a serving of Oreo cookies and the amount of calories, the amount of, so let's look at that. And then let's look at broccoli. Okay. And let's say we'll look at the point of how many calories and all the science behind it, as far as, okay, well, this is the biochemistry of those two different foods, right? And then let's take someone in a room and they're like, what? Well, do you have free will to go in there and choose between the broccoli or the cookie? And somebody could argue that they don't have the free will because their body and their mind, and there's something outside of them. There's something that is driven, that is controlling them, that says, I've got to have that cookie. And it's this, and then there's this opposite of, wait a minute, you can make the choice. If you have an intention to eat healthy and eat the best way and energize your body, then you have the ability to choose that broccoli instead of the cookie. And then we can get into these concepts. And while I'm making it as simple as possible, it's so that you can understand that when you misidentify your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own emotions, and you think that you are them, it's really hard to make a choice from a place of the place where willpower comes from. And by the way, willpower is something that you can strengthen, just like going and strengthening your biceps and getting stronger arms and upper body. It is a muscle that you can work. And then I want to take this a step further and tie this into the brain, because the brain is something that functions, but you are still you, the awareness, the spirit that is having the experience. And I am going to say this, and I'm going to point this out, because there's so much right now going on to try and make us think that we are not spiritual beings, that we are, that we can implant these things into our body, and that we're not, that we're just, let's not go there. Let's just realize where our energy force comes from. And that when we are so disconnected from that, that removes us one step further from our own willpower, and then from our own ability to create and set up an intention and that cause be our intention. And so that takes us right back to coming back to, where does your power come from? The inside, not something external. And so I really want to unwind all this, because it's the number one issue that I run into with clients who can't seem to stick to a basic, really fundamentally basic nutrition protocol or basic exercise protocol. And these are fundamental, simple things that the human body needs, but they're so separated from it because of being in this propaganda machine, that they are not able to control their own and be aware of their own emotions and their own feelings and their own thoughts. They don't know who's thinking those thoughts, but you're not, you can't be the effect of it. And so, all right, so I wanted to address this in a way that would be useful for you this week. And when I do these on Monday, my intention is setting up for Monday morning mentoring. What does your week coming up look like? And so that every time I do these Monday morning mentorings, I'm saying we are going to set an intention for the week. So I'm asking you to practice. I'm asking you to find this within yourself, to practice setting intentions. The more you can tap into that muscle of setting an intention and moving forward towards that, you're going to find it becomes easier. And it's the same thing with willpower. The more you focus on setting the intention, let's say the intention is, okay, those cookies that are in the kitchen, that are in the cabinet, those are great. They can sit there, and when you have willpower, you can laugh at the cookies instead of being afraid of them. Or you can be in a kitchen, or you can be in a space where there's cookies and brownies and all these things that are tempting, and you have no issue with saying no. It's like, no, it's okay. And there's no fear around, am I going to choose that cookie, or oh no? And because you've practiced it and your willpower is there. And I'm telling you, you have to give yourself permission first to know that you do have willpower. You do have the ability to set an intention and carry it forth and achieve that with yourself. Most of my clients are able to do things in very big ways. So financially, they can see something and turn that business into something very successful. And they can go in and they can do major physician type of things and save someone's life. And it's amazing. And yet they can't handle something so simple of not going by a vending machine and picking out, like, okay, I'm not going to do the M&Ms today. And so once again, I'm just saying, you want to look at some point, there's something in your life that you probably do have the ability to set an intention and see it forward, and the willpower in order to have it come to the end result. Now, if you don't have any experience at all with that, you need to work on that. And I would say start by looking in your life from your past when you did have the ability to set an intention and say, I am going to do this. This is what I'm going to focus on. Even if it's, I'm going to brush my teeth, and you go in and brush your teeth and you complete brushing your teeth in that moment, and you're focused, present, brushing your teeth, completed, awesome, your teeth are brushed. That is an example. So you want to know that you can do that. And you want your brain to know that it can do that. You can set an intention, whether it's go brush your teeth, whether it's I'm going to go get a glass of water now and I'm going to drink it. Boom, you've just set the intention, you've completed it. You've used, maybe it was less needing willpower, because that was an easy, like, we'll call it low-hanging fruit, right? Where, okay, you're just going to go get the glass of water and you're going to have a glass of water. It didn't take a lot of willpower. And so you start there. You start with those smaller more doable, you can handle that, right? It doesn't take a lot of practice. It's just like, well, I can only do 2-pound bicep curls today. You don't want to go get the 25-pound or the 200-pound bicep curls because you're not there yet. It's so similar, and I want you to see how these interrelate so that you can be easier on yourself when you step up to the next one that is challenging, to know that you have to build that muscle. And setting intentions is a tremendous tool to have in your toolbox. Your willpower is something that you can improve. Absolutely, 100%. You do have the ability to utilize free will, and willpower goes hand in hand with that. We are not subjected to all the programming from our past. I am speaking to you here from 100% result of being able to transcend and to transform a past where I probably would not still be alive had I gone the path of stuff where the free will talkers, where there's no free will, say the choice would have been that path. You have the ability to choose in any given moment. Use it. If you're not great at it and you're challenged with it, practice. Start with something easy. Start with just one thing today and take a win, celebrate it, and then move forward to the next thing. That is what I want to talk about today. And if you need more specific help, I'm just going to say right off, I do work with executives and high-powered people who are really at that level to take it up to the highest performance. And they know that their physical body needs to be in the best physical shape, not just that you look your best, but you feel your best and you can function your best. Because guess what? Your body houses your brain. And the way I work is that the brain and the body are actually one. But within that, so you've got your brain and your body, there is also a higher life force. And that is, we'll call it spirit, we'll call it chi, energy. Bottom line, it's this powerhouse life force. And if they are all in alignment, you are unstoppable. And we need more of those folks who are unstoppable. We need powerhouse leaders more than ever today. And I am here to facilitate and support those powerhouse leaders. So if you are interested in that, jump on my calendar, stefana.net, and let's have a session. In the meantime, utilize these tools, utilize this, set your intention for the week. Maybe set, if you need to just do it for the day, how about set an intention to, let's look at smaller chunks. If you need to do smaller bite size, this is something that you can do, that you can just handle, that improves that muscle. And then tomorrow, set a longer intention. Then the next day, set an intention for the week. This is different than setting resolutions, by the way. This is very different than the law of attraction, like, oh, I'm going to do some, law of attraction thing where I'm going to attract something. This is very different. Intention, setting an intention where you are directing your energy and your attention is a really important skill. And this is outside of the other, I don't want to get it confused with, let's say, law of attraction or some other things that I'm seeing folks be interested in, and look at that. This is a simple tool. This is a very important tool, one of the most important that you can develop as a skill, right along with that willpower and knowing that. And by the way, because the brain really likes to conserve energy. So just like I will tell my physician who had originally needed to sit most of the time, right? And as a result of sitting, that compounded issues in his back, and then that compounded issues in the weight, and then it just compounds, right? So one of the things that you want to remember is that with you having this concept, so you set your intention, and then if you put that on autopilot, because the brain will try to put things on autopilot, or it will shut things off if it doesn't need this. And the reason I want to tie it into the sitting is this: when you sit, your core, your abdominal chain doesn't need to be on. You're sitting, right? So right then you're in a position where, especially if you're forward sitting quite a bit, your core will turn off. So the brain says, oh, we don't need those abdominal muscles, let's turn those off. But you're still in this position. So now you've got your back that has to hold up. And so a lot of times what happens is the back will by default have to do something to support your body, because your core, your abdominal chain, the front abdominal chain is now turned off. And we can look at that and go, oh, well, that's bad. But the bottom line is that you have to understand the mechanics of the brain in this process. So then you can see how this will now correlate to willpower. Because all the brain's trying to do is conserve energy so that when we are in a facing emergency, that we have energy to get us through. And then that goes into a whole other thing with chronic, if you're in chronic emergency state, which a lot of physicians have been and have trained themselves to be able to survive in a chronic emergency state. So the point of this is that the brain is brilliant at conserving energy. And the better you can get, the easier it gets. So the better you can get at, let's say, setting intention, the better you can get at setting an intention, the easier it gets. The brain now doesn't have to work as hard to set that intention. It just becomes autopilot for the most part. So you want to set up algorithms like this, like setting the intention or practicing the willpower and doing it by baby steps until it becomes easier. And when it becomes easier, it's more fun to do. And as it's more fun to do, the brain doesn't have to work so hard, and it's able to not have to take up so much energy to utilize willpower or utilize intention. And then now it's that much easier. But you can't expect it to be super easy if you haven't been practicing it. You can't expect it to just automatically happen. And how long will it take? That's something that, it's different for everyone. If I work with a client and I'm working with them every single day, it's faster because there's a lot of course correction and we're lining up that course really quickly versus, it's going off and veering off and we're having to bring it back quite a bit. So there's a lot more room for that. So I hope that helps. I wanted to address that. I know I've kind of gone over a few different areas in here, but this is really important, super important that you have the skill, you can build it, you can build the skill of setting the intention, you can build your skill of willpower, you can absolutely practice it. It can become easier. And then you move on from there and find amazing results as a result of utilizing this tool. Okay, have an amazing week. I will see you next time. And if you want to jump on my calendar, go to stefana.net.